You reach for a bowl of soup because it's warm and easy. You bring a spoonful to your lips, expecting something. Comfort, flavor, relief. But there's almost nothing there. Just salt, maybe. A faint echo of what food used to taste like. You're sick, and the world has gone strangely flat. Most people assume the nose is the culprit. Makes sense. You're congested, you can't smell, and somehow that means everything tastes like cardboard. But that explanation, while partly true, is only the surface of something far stranger. Because what's actually happening when you're sick goes much deeper than a blocked nose. It touches the way your brain was designed, the ancient machinery running beneath your awareness, and a survival system that has been shaping your relationship with food for millions of years. Your sense of taste is not one thing. It is a collaboration. On your tongue right now, you have somewhere between 2,000 and 8,000 taste buds. Each one contains clusters of receptor cells tuned to detect 5 basic signals: sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami. That's it, 5 channels. And if you think about it, 5 channels doesn't sound like nearly enough to explain the difference between a ripe peach and a roast chicken. It isn't enough. Not on its own. What your brain calls taste is actually a fused signal, constructed from at least 3 separate systems, working simultaneously. There's gustation, the tongue's detection of those 5 basic qualities. There's olfaction, your sense of smell. And there's chemesthesis, the chemical sensitivity that detects heat, cooling, and irritation, the burn of chili, the tingle of peppermint. Your brain takes all 3 streams and weaves them into a single, seamless experience. It calls flavor. You never notice the seams until they come apart. Researcher Gordon Shepard at Yale University spent decades studying what he called neurogastronomy, the idea that flavor is not in food, but in the brain. The food delivers chemical signals. The brain invents the experience. He argued, convincingly, that what you taste when you bite into a strawberry is a construction as elaborate and personal as a dream. Different neurons fire for different people eating the exact same berry. The flavor isn't out there. It's in here. So what dismantles that construction when you get sick? The most immediate culprit is retronasal olfaction. This is the pathway most people have never heard of, even though they use it thousands of times a day. When you chew food, volatile aroma compounds, tiny molecules that carry what we recognize as flavor, travel up through the back of your throat into your nasal cavity from the inside, not through your nostrils, from behind. Researcher Paul Breslin at the Monell Chemical Senses Center describes this as the true engine of flavor perception. Orthonasal smell, smelling something in front of you, is only a small part of the picture. Retronasal smell is how you taste chocolate, how you taste coffee, how you taste almost everything complex and rich and worth eating. Now block that pathway. Fill your nasal passages with inflamed tissue and mucus. Shut the internal airflow that carries those volatile compounds to your smell receptors. Suddenly, what arrives at your brain is a stripped signal. You still detect salt. You still detect sweetness. You still feel heat and texture. But the layered, constructed, beautiful thing that your brain was making out of all those inputs together, that's gone. That explains a large part of it. But not all of it. There's something else happening, and it runs deeper. When your immune system activates in response to infection, it triggers the release of signaling molecules called cytokines. These are chemical messengers that coordinate the immune response. They tell your body to raise its temperature, to rest, to redirect energy away from ordinary maintenance and toward fighting the pathogen. They also reach the brain. And when they do, they alter neural processing in ways that are only beginning to be understood. Research published in the journal Brain Behavior and Immunity has found that cytokine activity during illness directly affects the sensitivity of sensory systems, including taste and smell. Receptor cells in the nose and mouth are not just passive detectors. They are living tissue, metabolically active, and they respond to inflammatory signals. During infection, their sensitivity can drop. Some of your taste receptor cells may temporarily stop responding to stimuli they would normally detect with ease. The signal gets quieter from the source itself, before it even reaches your brain. And then there is the brain's own adjustment. Your prefrontal cortex, the region involved in judgment and evaluation, is partly responsible for what food scientists call hedonic response, whether something tastes good or bad, rewarding or aversive. Studies by neuroscientist Edmund Rolls have shown that this response is not fixed. It shifts with internal body state. When you are well fed, sweet things lose their appeal. Your brain downregulates the reward signal because you don't need them. The same mechanism operates when you are ill. Your brain detects that your body is under threat, and it begins to suppress appetite and food reward. Food stops feeling like a reward because your biology is trying to get you to stop spending energy on digestion and focus on recovery. This is not an accident. It is a strategy. Think back to your ancestors, not your grandparents. Much further back, a human being on an ancient savanna with a serious infection faces a critical allocation problem. Energy is finite. The immune response is metabolically expensive, running a fever, producing antibodies, activating white blood cells. All of it burns fuel. Digestion is also expensive. Foraging for food is dangerous and exhausting. So the body evolved a solution. Suppress appetite. Reduce the desire to eat. Redirect resources toward fighting the infection. The loss of taste pleasure isn't damage. It's a feature. Researcher Benjamin Hart at the University of California, Davis, wrote extensively about what he called the adaptive value of sickness behaviors. The cluster of responses, including lethargy, loss of appetite, social withdrawal, and altered sensory experience that occurred during infection across many species. He argued that these behaviors, which feel like symptoms, are actually ancient defense mechanisms. They are the immune system and the brain working together to optimize recovery. Your food going tasteless is part of that package. There's a particular cruelty to it if you think too hard. Your body shuts down the very source of pleasure and comfort that might otherwise get you through a miserable few days. But comfort isn't the priority right now. Survival is. Now consider what happens with smell specifically, because this is where the story gets stranger still. The olfactory epithelium, the tissue inside your nasal cavity that contains your smell receptors, is one of the only places in the adult nervous system where neurons routinely regenerate. New receptor cells grow constantly to replace old ones. They sit exposed to the open air, vulnerable, because they have to be. Direct contact with airborne molecules is the only way to detect smell. That vulnerability has a cost. Viruses can infect olfactory neurons directly. This is why some respiratory infections cause not just temporary loss of smell, but a prolonged and disorienting distortion. Parosmia, the condition where familiar smells are replaced by distorted, often foul sensations, affects a significant percentage of people after viral infections that reach olfactory tissue. Coffee smells like burning rubber. Meat smells rotten. Foods that were once pleasurable become genuinely nauseating. The neural wiring has been disrupted, and the brain is receiving corrupted input and doing its best to interpret it. The result is a landscape of flavor that feels like a broken translation. Your sense of smell is also, it turns out, the most emotionally direct of your senses. The olfactory bulb connects directly to the amygdala and the hippocampus, structures deeply involved in emotion and memory, without the relay stop through the thalamus that most other sensory signals make. This is why a smell can pull you back to a moment from 20 years ago before you've consciously registered what you're smelling. When illness distorts or eliminates smell, it doesn't just flatten food, it mutes something fundamental in how you process the world. Patients who lose their sense of smell long-term, a condition called anosmia, report dramatically elevated rates of depression and anxiety. The world feels less vivid, less present, less real. There is also the social dimension, which tends to be overlooked. Humans, like most social animals, use chemical signals from their bodies as unconscious communication. Smell plays a role in attraction, in detecting genetic compatibility, in reading subtle social cues. Illness disrupts that communication on both sides. You smell different when you're sick. Immune activity changes the volatile compounds your body releases. Other people may register this difference even without consciously identifying it. Social withdrawal during illness may not only be driven by fatigue. It may be chemosensory. Anthropologist Mark Schaller at the University of British Columbia has studied what he calls the behavioral immune system, the set of psychological and behavioral tendencies that evolved alongside the biological immune system to detect and avoid infection. His research suggests that humans have unconscious sensitivity to cues of illness in others, and that this sensitivity shapes social behavior in ways we rarely notice. When you are sick and the world seems flat and gray and your food has no taste, your body is running an ancient program of isolation and conservation. Pulling inward, saving energy, protecting the group as much as protecting itself. You reach for the soup again. It still tastes like almost nothing. But now you understand that the blankness you're experiencing is not failure. It is your body executing one of the oldest survival protocols in the mammalian playbook. Your immune system has taken the wheel, and it has dimmed everything it considers non-essential, including the pleasure of food, so that every available resource can flow toward the fight. The flavor of your soup isn't gone. It's been deliberately, strategically, evolutionarily set aside. The taste will come back. It always does, for most people. And when it does, when you take that first bite of something real and the flavor hits again in full, you'll understand something about your own biology that most people never think to ask. The richness of food isn't just chemistry. It's the product of a complex, fragile, magnificent collaboration between your nose, your tongue, your immune system, your memory, and a brain that has been building the experience of flavor from scratch every single time you eat. When you're sick, the collaboration breaks down. When you recover, it assembles itself again. Quietly, automatically, the way it has for hundreds of thousands of years. Tonight, when you reach for that bowl of soup again, the flavor will still be waiting for you, just on the other side of this.